Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Word from Tomorrow podcast. I'm Case Aiken, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Keith Lettinen.
Hello, everybody.
Keith, welcome back.
Yes. It's been a ride.
It is certainly a ride indeed. And to continue on this ride that is the Transmetropolitan series, we are joined by Jesse Fresco.
Hello, here again. We were just doing this 2 nights ago for for another pass. So
That's
here I am
true.
again.
Podcast time is weird. Podcast time is very weird. You and I were just
Yeah.
doing another pass. And when that episode is going to drop in relation to this, I have no idea. I couldn't even begin to tell you.
I also just did an episode of Another Pass just a couple days ago.
Yeah,
So
actually, that's
that's
true.
very funny.
They just kind of apparate into existence whenever I'm browsing through things
Right.
to listen to at the gym. Like, oh, hey, look at that. It popped up.
Yes, yes. So that is the weirdness of podcast time. But the wonderfulness of podcast time is that it is part of the podcast community, which is what you have been a part of. You have been a podcaster in the past. Your network is currently done.
It closed down, retired.
Yeah, retired. But who are you? Where would people know you from?
Well, I was on the Jaguar Sharks podcast crew, which was previously just Montrose Media, and then there was a certain point where we split them apart, and the podcast division became its own thing, and the filmmaking thing became its own thing as well. And we kept Jaguar Sharks going until the excuse me the beginning of last year, and we decided to wrap everything up. Everyone kind of went their separate ways. I mean, Seth, who was our pitch master general for Film Rescue, he moved to South Korea, so can't record with him. That's out of the question.
Right.
He's an 11-hour time difference, doesn't work. Hope is basically retired from recording for film and TV and stuff like that. She's moving to California pretty soon. She's getting ready to put her house on the market down in Florida. She's getting out of that hellscape. So it's everyone's just kind of going their separate ways, and I've been pursuing other interests. I've recently written a novel, and I submitted the manuscript for my second novel a couple days ago. So that's my main focus at this point. It's more satisfying to me. I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was younger, and now I've realized, you know what? I don't play well with others. I prefer to just have everything be done myself. So I wrote my first novel, Skyhawk, and published it in November of last year, and just made two more sales this afternoon. So
Nice.
it's selling pretty well for a self-published novel. It's doing quite good.
That's fantastic. What's the elevator pitch for it?
Elevator pitch. Freelance starfighter pilot gets involved with a very shady corporation that turns out they're doing something very nefarious, and he goes full Punisher or Jack Reacher and takes them down.
Nice. Are we talking near future sci-fi? Are we talking high sci-fi like a Star Trek?
Have you seen Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Imagine if Battlestar was just about the Viper pilots.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Nice.
basically just about that, and it's more like he's a freelancer, so it's more about getting a job, maintaining the job. It's like, oh, I made 80,000 this mission, but you have to pay for your taxes, you have to pay for your health insurance, your flight insurance, your permits, your landing fee, your rearm, your
Yeah.
resupply, your repairs. So it's it's there's a book series I really love by a writer named Derek Robinson, who I think recently passed away. I went to his website to pick up one of his books, and his website's gone. So I'm guessing he's just passed away. He wrote a book called Piece of Cake, which was set in the World War II
Mm.
phony war, where it was right before full scale conflict broke out between Britain and Germany. And it's basically about just these pilots and the slice of life nature of warfare. Just people sitting around in trying to enjoy life, and occasionally they go up in the sky and they shoot down other planes. It's but deep down, Skyhawk is more of a love story than anything else. But it's a love story that's doomed to fail because
Yeah.
your job impedes your personal life, and so he can't quite balance it. So slightly
Nice.
autobiographical. So, but yeah, it's the first in a series of seven. I'm working on book number two right now, and
Nice.
my second novel, Drive Like Hell, I just found a cover artist. She's working on it right now, and I should have that artwork done next week, and then I should have the book printed by the beginning of next month.
Awesome.
So,
I love me some sci-fi, so
if you
Yeah.
like good action sci-fi, that's probably a good one for you.
Well,
But
so it's fair to say that you know your way around the sci-fi genre, Jesse.
mhm.
And so, what is your relationship specifically with Transmetropolitan?
So I got back into comics out of college. I was looking for a job right out of college because my stepfather was a horrible asshole and said, "You need to go get a job right away. Like, don't relax, don't take vacation, don't experience life. Go get a job right away." Because he was a dick. May he burn in hell. And so, so, um, I went to Third Eye Comics back when it was still just basically a closet store. It was barely anything. It was so small, and I was like, "I'm looking for a job. I was hiring." And the guy that runs the place, Steve Anderson, with his girlfriend Trish, they were like, "Well, it's just the two of us. We don't really need a third person right now." Now they're a big chain store. They have like 5 locations. There's one in Richmond. There's one in Waldorf. Like they're a big collection of stores now. But yeah, I was like, you know what? Since I'm here, why don't I pick something up? And so I picked up From Hell, Alan Moore's From Hell. That was my first comic back. What a place to start. We were just talking about Alan Moore
Yeah.
off air, so it's very appropriate we're talking about that. And then I went into, I think it was Brian K. Vaughan's Why the Last Man, which was, a pretty basic series when you really break it down. It's pretty straightforward. Hasn't aged terribly well. And then I
Parts
also
of it,
picked,
certainly.
yeah, yeah. And then I also picked up a lot of Garth Ennis stuff, specifically Preacher and his run on Punisher, the Punisher Max specifically, which is one of my all-time favorite series, heavily influenced my own book, Skyhawk. And then Steve recommended Transmetropolitan because he says, well, if you like this Vertigo story, Preacher, there's a companion series called Transmet. You'll probably like this. I picked up the first volume. I read it in a single sitting, and I went back to the store the same night and picked up the next 2 volumes. I was like, this is my jam. This is absolutely my jam. So yeah, I got into it because of Steve over at Third Eye, and I really loved Warren Ellis's stuff for a long time. Would pick up his work consistently, even his mainstream stuff, which is nowhere near as good as his independent stuff. But I don't think this is his best work. I think Planetary is probably the best thing he's ever written. I think that's probably the top of the heap for his best things.
We've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, Planetary is really good, and also the main character of Transmet appears in a cameo in an issue of Planetary, which is kind of funny. So, but yeah, I haven't read any Warren Ellis stuff recently because of all the stuff that came out about him, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna back away from this guy for a bit. So, I don't think he's written anything in the last like 5-10 years. I don't know what he's doing now. So, but yeah, that's my relationship. I picked it up because of Steve over at Third Eye.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, we've certainly had our wrestling with the Warren Ellis of it all.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Neil Gaiman, but it's still not great.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, there was a bit I saw. It was an interview. I think I saw about 10 years ago. It's just him. It's like a webcam level interview. It's him at a table with one other guy, and he was talking about Transmet, and he said that people, when they would quote him, they were actually quoting Spider Jerusalem. People were like, they think I'm Spider Jerusalem, and I'm not. At worst, Spider Jerusalem is the worst parts of me when I roll out of bed in the morning. We've come to realize that's not true.
Yeah.
This is kind of him. Like the way he treated women, the gross sex stuff. It's like, yeah. I mean, maybe he doesn't beat the living shit out of people, but this is kind of him. So
Yeah, Spider Jerusalem is certainly a fantasy of Warren Ellis.
oh, it's a power fantasy version.
Yeah.
Of Miles. Like he gets completely jacked up on drugs every single day and then still lives to tell the tale. It's like, I know a lot of this is basically based on Hunter S. Thompson. I mean, I've never read any Hunter S. Thompson work. I think I saw, what was the one? What was the Vegas one? What was that called?
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I've seen that movie. I saw was it the Rum Drink?
The Rum Diary.
The Rum Diary. And I was like, he just comes off like a crazy person to me. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need this. It just, if you're completely blasted on drugs, you're probably not thinking straight. So therefore, I can't really take everything you say at face value. Everything you say should come under a level of scrutiny. And that's that's one negative I would give the entire series of Transmetropolitan is that everybody he writes to, no one ever like questions it. Everything is gospel from him. No one ever says, hey, sit down and let's talk about this. It's like no one ever thinks, is this guy just crazy? No one ever says, is this guy just high off his ass? and
Yeah.
not thinking clearly. That's the one negative I'd give the series, that no one ever puts anything he says under scrutiny. Because it's a power fantasy.
We've kind of talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it being told from his perspective. And
Yeah,
it's just like,
because it's a power fantasy, and Warren wants to say, "Well, I'm right," and you can't say anything
everybody
about
clapped.
Yeah,
Right.
everybody applause. Here's the sign in the background. Applause.
Yeah.
Yeah, the argument that sort of like justifies Spider is that even like his assistants hate him, like everyone like seems to dislike him, but they're all
Yeah.
like, I hate the fucker, but he's God damn it, he's right. Like
Yeah.
like is how they sort of write around the scenario of just being like, oh well, of course he's right. He's the protagonist.
Yeah, I do love the ending of I think it's the second issue in this volume. We're talking about volume 6 today, Gouge Away, where it's the two assistants going out and they're just having fun. It's like that brings up a point I want to talk about later on. And the very last panel of that issue is Spider picking up a dead bird and eating it, and he goes, "They love my ass."
Yeah.
It's like he's
so
not in
weird.
anywhere else in the issue, just that one panel because he's following them. I love that. Yeah. But yeah, it is a power fantasy, and I do think that there is a value to power fantasies. I think that we need them. They can make us feel empowered. And in a time frame in America, or even just in the world in general, where many people are feeling disenfranchised, disgruntled, depowered, it's good to have these fantasies. I mean, my own book, Skyhawk, it ends with a power fantasy. I mean, the main villain's based on my old boss, and I blow him up with a Gatling gun. Like it's a power fantasy because we need these. I've never subscribed to this belief that all media should just be reflective of the world and just everyone should live in misery. The one thing I've noticed, and this is way off topic, but I want to get this out of my system. I've noticed over the last like 10 to 15 years that a lot of left-leaning media always has this air of self-pity and defeatism to it. Like we're gonna fight the good fight. We know we're right. We're gonna lose, but we're gonna fight the good fight. No, you're just gonna lose, and they're gonna rewrite history, and everyone's gonna forget about you. Which is what's happening right now. I mean, I was working in DC today. Today we're recording this on January 6th. And it's the 5-year anniversary of the January 6th assault. I was working in DC today, and there was protests all over DC. The plaque commemorating the police officers that died at the Capitol building during that insurrection, that plaque is still not displayed, and police were protecting January 6ers who were in jail and are now out now. It's like they literally just rewrote history. So all of that belief that you were on the right side, they just deleted it. So I do think there is a value to power fantasies.
Yeah, there is. And
if anything else, it makes you feel good, and it can be inspiring. We need those. We need these stories that make us feel inspired.
Yeah, one of the main keys to this series has been the prescience of it, and how much we're like, oh, that hits awful close to home. And we're definitely going to be talking about that in a bit with some of this. So yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think this is probably the most politically on the nose of the volumes right now.
It's up there, definitely.
It's hard to say because the series feels so on the nose for so much of it. But yes, I mean certainly there's plenty to talk about as we get into volume 6, Gouge Away, where Spider starts to fight back, as it were,
literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
But before we get into our breakdown of the actual volume, Keith, how are we feeling in this read along?
Good. This volume is broke down into 4 stories, 3 one-shots, and then a 3-parter. I really like the 3-parter. I think it's one of my favorite arcs so far in this. And I do really like you kind of mentioned it, so I'll mention it now. There is a 1-issue story of the Filthy Assistants. And as Case knows, I fucking love the Filthy Assistants. So I loved that issue so much. Like
Shannon is so great. I love Shannon so much.
I had such a crush on her immediately, and now Yelena is up there too. I might like Yelena more now, but I do think this might have, I don't want to say the worst story so far, but the story I've enjoyed the least, I'll say that, which is the first issue.
Is it the interdimensional TV show?
Yeah, which we'll talk about shortly. But I think it was a low point for me as far as enjoyment goes. I'm not saying quality-wise, but I was just kind of like, with so much great drama building up. In case we've talked about it, we've been talking about we're into the meat of the story now. It
Yeah.
felt really weird to get that issue
Yeah,
like right at the beginning of volume. Like, it's like, we just lost a lot of momentum there. So
it's a very weird bottle episode.
yeah, 100%. So, but overall, I really enjoyed the volume.
Because
All
nothing
right.
really happens with that one story. Like it
It's
doesn't move the plot or characters forward at all.
No, it's just a breather. Like it feels like a chance to have Derek Robertson do half the issue instead of the usual full issue and like get some like there's a little bit of recapping going on here,
Yeah.
like the Lifetime TV or movie story that they put out there, like or like Amfeed News or whatever, or
Yeah.
Amfeed Fiction,
And feed,
uh,
American feed fiction,
yeah,
so
yeah.
was this
that
around the time when he was working on this volume? Was this around the time that Warren Ellis was working on Constantine? Hellblazer?
I don't know the
I
time frame actually.
I think this is post that. I think this is getting close to like this is certainly his Wildstorm era.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking it up right
Oh,
now.
he was working on Stormwatch. He was
Yeah,
working on
this is
that's where
Stormwatch
his focus was
leading
going.
into Authority and Planetary
Yeah, that's where he was going.
timeline wise. Um,
So
'Cause I
that breather
think
issue is probably him to work on other stuff that he was working on.
yeah, because I think like this is certainly by 98 because we there was a point that we checked in like where in the publishing timeline it was
Yeah.
recently. Um,
So Planetary and Hellblazer were both 1999. So we're probably about to hit it if we haven't already. So
So he was probably working on it and writing it at that time then.
maybe.
Yeah.
oh wow,
So yeah.
okay.
That's crazy. He has
So
all
there
three
you
of those
go.
books in the shelves at one time. That's crazy. So
Well, I mean, with the way you stagger release schedules
yeah.
and the way they dished them out because it's various publishers he was working for. I think he was also working with Avatar at the time,
Yeah.
working on some independent stuff. So
But it's just like these three, like these are three huge titles. To have three titles of that lasting legacy on the shelf at one time is kind of interesting. So
he was big at the time, man.
yeah.
He was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into the first issue in this volume, and as we kind of alluded, this one is very similar to the interdimensional cable episodes of Rick and Morty. The episode Nobody Loves Me or issue Nobody Loves Me,
Yeah.
which is a bunch of different vignettes that are depicted as different first TV and then hallucinations that Spider goes through. We open with Spider having a fairly funny rant that indicates that he's pretty fucked up on drugs. Um, he talks about his head bones, that he loves his head bones, and that don't come near him or he'll shoot you. But give him cigarettes, and if you come close enough to give him cigarettes, he's still going to shoot you. He loves his head bones. It's amusing. And then we get into the first of the various vignettes, which is Magical Truth-Saying Bastard Spidey, which is a series that was alluded to previously.
Yeah.
And I think is a lot of fun to see here. It's just every trope you could have about Spider just writ large.
Yeah. How the public views him or how television would portray him or things like that. It's like the sanitization of the reality. It's like there is value in this first issue. I mean as pointless as it is, there is value in looking at the adaptation of this person or this character or this scenario is going to get watered down because they need to make it digestible for the public. But yeah, it ultimately does uh hinder the reality of like the situation, the muscly tough guy storyline of the cliched exposing the truth to stop the police from causing a riot
Yeah,
is reflective of the first
That
story
might,
arc
that
of the
might be my
series.
favorite actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to get into that. So I would argue that each of these stories is a good job of refreshing our memories of the core details of the series as a whole. I mean, we have
Yeah.
to remember that this is volume 6 in a 10 volume series. It's been a while since we've had the original story
Mm.
that launched the whole thing. So it is good that we get like, oh yeah, here's the public's perception of Spider Jerusalem. Um, and Spider's reaction to it, so that we understand that he doesn't like it, and that that's taken too far, and that it humanizes him by way of showing the caricature.
Yeah.
Um,
He doesn't like being a celebrity, but that comes with the territory of becoming famous. Like there's
Yeah.
no way around that, you know.
yeah,
I like the I like that in each of these we get that impression that we've had hints at before, that not only is he famous, his circle is famous, his assistants are famous, the cat is
Yeah.
famous.
Yeah, the
Like we saw
cats.
we saw like a stuffed animal of the cat or something in one of the last
Yeah.
issues that
Yeah.
was for sale. And so in each of these we do get like a little appearance by the assistants. And in this first story, the Yelena is very funny because it looks nothing like her, and I think that's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, is that supposed to be her? And I figured out, yeah, it is, but yeah.
Yeah. And the simplistic reality that Spider exposing the truth about the police, politicians, corporations, whatever it may be. It's like, oh, I'm going to expose the truth, and they stop doing their horrible things immediately, and the public recognizes it, and everything changes. Like the current
Yeah.
political system we're living through right now, how much shit has come out about the current administration within the span of 1 year, and
well,
nothing
and
has
like
changed.
there's like propaganda in this version of the storytelling
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, it's a rogue police sniper. He must have snapped from the stress, and
Yeah. It's not an entire battalion of cops beating up protesters like it is in the first volume. It's just one deranged cop.
It's a few bad apples, as they
Few
always
bad
say.
apples. Yeah, it's like it reminds me of the ending of that movie Serenity, the sequel to Firefly. It's
Mhm.
like we're going to expose the truth of what happened on this planet, and the whole galaxy is going to know that the parliament's really evil, and then suddenly the truth is exposed and they see it and then they stand down. It's like they would just shoot them. It's like
Yeah.
that. Like the ending of that movie is bullshit. I'm happy with 90% of that movie, and then the ending is just bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exposing the truth, and that ties in. If I could plug away one more time, the ending of my book series is that main character realizes what's going on and like this horrible thing that's happening throughout the entire galactic community. And he just says, "Yeah, I can expose these people, but that's not going to change anything. They're just going to tie it up in courts and they're going to get away with it. They have to be stopped." And so he just says, "Fuck it, I have nothing to live for. I'm just going to sacrifice myself." And he goes full Punisher. It's like it's you at a certain point. I mean, I made notes while I was reading this again last night. Uh, the truth matters, but people need to take action for it to actually matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a really great book that I recommend to people that I've read called "Violent Politics." It's a history of using violence in order to shift away fascist regimes throughout the course of human history, all the way from the American Revolution up until this came out in 2008, the Second War in Iraq. Why violence is needed to at times shift political systems in one direction or another. It's it's not the preferred method of action, but it is a method of action if you are in desperate times. And so the situation you're getting into in this particular volume by that third story, the 3 story arc, like it's desperate times. That is when it gets that's the low point of this series is that when Spider gets fired. So you see the sanitization of violence in that first storyline where they're just portraying Spider as being this cutesy character or a porn star or an action hero, and that's not who he is at all. He's a deranged junkie. He's not that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cleaning it up for the public, which is very frustrating. So
Yeah, I mean the Amfeed news or Amfeed fiction story one, I just sort of want to call attention to the fact that, like, aside from the rogue sniper, it is just him saying, "Oh, I can combat this with the truth," and it's what we've been saying, that it's this like sanitization of the whole story there, that there is, like, when we talked about the first volume, and when we sort of discussed it in later episodes, uh, the wrestling with the morality of actually making a difference by way of writing the story
Yeah.
versus being an active participant in stopping the harm that was in front of you was the thing that we discussed. Like it's a thing that we tackled.
Yeah.
And this one solely puts it on the side of no, it just clearly just he should just write the story because that's the victory scenario.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow for the shades of gray that exist in what actually happened there, where a lot of people were getting the shit kicked out of them right in front of him, and he could have stepped in there and like tried to intervene, but he would have only succeeded in maybe stopping one person from getting the shit kicked out of them, as opposed to like ultimately like telling the story, like prevented way more violence, like did way more,
Yeah.
but it's the sort of like reverse trolley problem.
Yeah. I mean, that it kind of goes into the second storyline where it's him walking the street, walking the beat, and just going from place to place, and he sees the cops kick homeless people out of their squatting area, and
Yeah, and we'll get to that. I just want
yeah,
to we're,
there is
we're
value in telling the truth, yes, but there
yeah.
is also at times there is a need to get directly involved. There is. I mean, I was walking around the mall as I finished work today. I was walking around the mall today and just seeing the protest going on, and cops are protecting January Sixers. They're protecting Proud Boys. It's like
Yep.
it's frustrating. You know, it's
Yeah.
very frustrating seeing them protecting treasonous and insurrectionists and the protesters that were there, peaceful protesters standing there. But it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't change much because I mean, they're you're celebrating the day of insurrection. What? Why? What? I don't get it. I just I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, go
it's
ahead. Yeah.
hard to deal with the real world encroaching into our
I
fiction.
know, especially
Yeah.
on a day like today. You picked a hell of a
Yeah.
day to do this case. I don't know. It's hard to not think about it, you know. So
Yeah.
thankfully nobody got shot or anything today. Thank God. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Keith, you were about to say something.
Just yeah, I wanted to kind of like bring it back to the issue because like
mm,
I do like I like the stories. I think they're fun. Again, I don't think I don't think they're bad. I just didn't. I was just kind of like it's a poorly timed issue is what my main concern is. But
yeah.
I do like the humor of it. I think it's pretty fun. I do like the hyper muscle bound where you talk about I'll save the day with my idealism, and then the porn one is funny because I like if I read this right, Royce was gender bent to a female, which is
Yeah.
Yes, I really enjoyed
very
that.
Yeah.
very funny to me. I
Are
bet
you
he
gonna write me that story? Do I have to suck it out of you? It's like,
I bet he really doesn't like that, and that makes me smile. Um, and just yeah, just like I really like it. I think the last one, which I think was the Quietly art, yeah, it was Quietly,
yeah.
um, was kind of disturbing to me compared to the others. Like it was just kind
Yeah.
of like
Yeah,
stomping on every woman. Whoever told them no was kind of not a thing I was really happy to see, I guess. So,
Yeah, that one in context with the
yeah,
with the things that came out about Warren Ellis, it's like, okay, this one aged the worst.
yeah, it's up
This
there.
one aged the worst.
yeah, it makes sense as a power fantasy of Spider Jerusalem, but reading Spider Jerusalem as a power fantasy of Warren Ellis, the power fantasy of the power fantasy, reads a little gross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Blech. Yeah. But at
Uh,
least after
it,
that, you got the Eduardo Riso stuff, which
yeah,
is
that's
a
why I wouldn't call it the last one because
Oh
we
yeah,
actually
that's
then
true. I
have,
forgot about that.
yeah.
yeah, the Riso stuff is really good afterwards. I remember seeing his stuff for the first time, reading 100 Bullets, which is another series that I love. So
It's
But
interesting
before,
because like even in the Derek art of this one, Shannon looks drastically different. He draws her like much thinner, which I thought was very interesting. So it was just kind of weird. Like that brief appearance with her and Yelena,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, is that supposed to be Shannon? Like she doesn't seem like her normal self. So,
yeah,
but
I do like how quickly we get Yelena's version of the story right there. Uh,
yeah,
where because it's true, like right at the very beginning, he was going to shoot my ass with that stupid fucking gun of his. So I left, bumped into you at the bar, and that's the whole story.
Gosh, I will never get over the fact that he has a gun that can make people just shit their pants.
Yeah.
I will never get over that.
I love I love as a character development, and I think again, as someone who hasn't read the whole story, um, I like that Yelena, and we would talk about this in another issue later on, but that Yelena is a fuck up,
Mm.
and Yelena is slowly becoming Spider Jerusalem,
Yes.
and I kind of love that, like her
Mhm.
being like, "Oh, just put it on, this network," and she's like, "Wait, no, don't!" Like that's the kind of thing he would do. Like, "Oh
Yeah.
fuck, I fucked everything up." Like, and I was like, "Yeah, that's great." Like Channing would never make that mistake, and I love
Yeah.
that like aspect of her being like the fuck up. I think that makes her a lot more fun and really endears her to me.
Yeah. The later issue. When did you start smoking? I don't know. Just got used to it.
Yeah, so you don't
Just
used to smoke this
slowly
much.
becoming more and more like him.
But yeah, I mean, so again, this issue is sort of a bottle issue. It doesn't really have part of the larger narrative thrust. It is a resetting of the stakes for anyone who's just like catching up with the series at this point. And it's a chance to like show off some different art styles and have some fun jokes and to show some fun scenarios. But just to make sure you remember, here's what the status quo of of Transmetropolitan is, because at the end of this volume that gets disrupted pretty severely.
Yeah. I feel like it's a chance for him to revisit old ideas because then prior to this, I think is volume two, three, where it's the TV episode where Spider is just sitting there watching TV all day long and just like just zoning out all day. I feel like this is kind of a reinterpretation of that,
Hmm.
where it's like he's no longer watching the television, he's in the television at this point. I feel like that's kind of what he's revisiting.
Yeah, I
So,
could
but
see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that makes more of a point about entertainment and consumerism and capitalism. This one's kind of like it's a comment on the way we perceive our heroes or the way Spider is perceiving himself as he has a nightmare in the end of the episode in the end of the issue.
Yeah.
So, and then the cat pisses on his head.
Yep, that I was gonna get to that at the very end of this whole thing. Spider is passed out on the floor and the cat is pissing on his head. Uh,
Maybe Warren knew that this was not a great issue, and he's just like, "Yeah, let's just end it with the cat pissing on his head."
I don't want to say it's not a great issue. I just think, like I said,
It's
that
out of place. That's the problem.
it's out of place when you're reading it in the large chunks that we are today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you see it as a jump on issue in the midst of this whole thing, which I would argue that every couple of arcs we have these individual like kind of standalone episodes that are intended to be jumping on points for the book. The same issue happened in the last volume with the one with the senator that they were chasing down, where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's just like an archetypal Transmet story, but it kind of sucks because it's part like it's in the middle of a larger narrative that it just sort of stuck out of.
Yeah.
The next issue is The Walk, and this is one where it's written, it's like Spider's notes. Like it's kind
Yeah.
of written like his column or like a book entry of his or something to that effect. It's certainly his narrative,
Yeah.
but it apparently isn't. So like I said, I guess it's his notes that he's taking at like as things go by.
I was gonna say I enjoyed this issue. I like the format of it.
Hmm.
The steady two panels of art, two panels of text, the solid black background for the text, just keeping that like throughout. I really liked it. I also want to shout out that I think it was Jaime Hernandez that did the cover of the next few. And I was like, whose art is that? Because it looked really familiar, and I had to look it up. I'm like, yeah, it's Jaime.
Yes, thank you for shouting that out. Um, But yeah, so we get Spider just kind of walking around the city in a bunch of scenarios being identified by people, sort of like calling out the fact that he is now a cartoon, that people
Yeah.
he's a Saturday morning cartoon. He's a TV movie pop culture phenomenon character, and this has defanged him in the public. So people bump into him and they'd say, "You're in the way, Spider Boy."
Yeah. There's that
And,
one moment when he meets the attractive woman. He's like,
Oh,
"Oh." Yeah, such a good moment. It's just like Spider's like, oh,
So
maybe I could let all this go just for this one moment, and then just like, nope, reality kicks back in. Fuck this city.
Yeah,
and
it's super romantic. It is super weird though. She's like sucking on the cat's tail in the first panel.
yeah,
I
And
noticed that. I was like, what?
yeah,
she
the,
also has a passing resemblance to a certain departed political advisor of friend of his.
that
Like,
that is also true. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
what I
It's
thought
true.
immediately. I was like,
She does
oh,
look like Vita. Yeah.
yeah.
But it's extremely romantic. Like I think we've all had those moments of like walking down the street and like you catch the eye of someone and it's just like you imagine the scenario where it's just like, oh yeah, in a different world we would chat and like we would hit it off and
Yeah.
you could build out this elaborate fantasy and then you just continue on walking. And
And
in
then
her case, she
you never
continues.
see that person ever again.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. In
It's
her case, she
crazy.
continues walking with her three-eyed cat that she was just sucking on the tail of.
I'm saying
Ships.
their cats would get along. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's like ships passing in the night.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is the issue that my note for this one was very simple. Fuck cops. Stop kicking homeless people out of their camps and
Right.
squats.
Yeah, so the
This is the ultimate fuck
militarization
cops. Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
police here is this is one of the ones that I was like, oh, this is extremely prescient here, where it's just like, oh yeah, cops just have tanks and all that shit. Like
Right.
that is super the case of the modern world. Like
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start ranting about it because it's just the thing that I'm like, isn't this obvious that it's terrible?
It was getting vague shades of Judge Dredd in there. Yeah.
Oh, in the real world, yes, it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Side note, I was actually just talking to John Wagner. I was just talking with him. We're friends on Facebook. I was talking about Judge recently. He said he's retiring next year.
Hmm.
He's stepping away from Dredd. He's retiring. One more story and he's done.
Wow.
Been writing that character for 50 years. He's like, yeah, I'm done. I have nothing left to talk about. The reality is now that the judges are real.
Living in that world, man.
Cops operate
Right.
with impunity now. Like
Yeah.
it's no longer a satire. I have nothing to talk about.
Well, and that's the thing with this scene here, where it's just like, oh yeah, like cops are just freely allowed to have tanks and so forth,
Yeah.
uh, because of military surpluses and just the military industrial complex just generating ridiculous military gear that we then put in the hands of our police officers all over the country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I saw that they would install tasers into riot shields, I was like, why? It's
I
like,
always think back to I remember it's something John Oliver featured on an early episode of a show when he's talking about militarization, and they literally like some police department with like a population of like 3,000 people
mhm.
had a full on like SWAT tank, and to promote it they put a video of it online to Dope's song "Die Motherfucker Die," and
Yeah,
it's
I
just like
saw that.
it's like what the fuck, man? Like
Your job is to arrest criminals, not to be a bully and just go after anybody. It's like,
little dick energy.
well,
But I
yeah,
think the other important part of this scene though, like you're saying, Case, is that they have this, but also one of the big emphasis he makes is that, and they're so emboldened to just openly do this now.
Yeah,
yeah,
Like the again, very prescient. The man in charge of the country emboldens these people to be their worst out in the open.
yes,
yeah.
that is a great point,
Yeah.
right there, because it's a thing that they talk about is the vibe of the world now, and it is certainly a thing that we are seeing in the real world.
When you see when they're kicking out all the people that are straight up homeless, they're completely homeless and they're just being booted out of this condemned building. Like they're not hurting anybody. They just have nowhere to go. Like they're not harming anyone because apparently some of them still contribute to society. When they kick them out, there's where is it? There's a woman that gets kicked out and she has like two kids, like a baby, and she's wearing like a nurse's uniform or something like that. It's like these people probably still have jobs. They just have nowhere to live because it's probably they've been priced out of having a home. So
Yeah,
it gets it's like where do you want them to go? You know, and it's I've always whenever I see videos of cops doing that to camps and just like breaking down tents and just kicking people out and they just say just get the fuck out of here. I'm like the budget for the military right now is so large. You could end homelessness in America within a month. You could end it.
Yeah.
They choose not to. They actively choose not to. This police force that's in this storyline, they choose to be bullies and punks and treat these people like garbage. The lie that was told to you when you were a kid by your parents, if you just ignore the bullies, they'll go away. That was a fucking lie. They will hound you and they will come after you constantly. And that's what these cops do. Like, these people are not hurting anyone. And they're just harassed for no reason. For no reason, because they're not contributing to the tax system because they don't have a place that they can pay for. It's like,
yeah. So Spider just witnesses this, and sort of has a face off with the cops as they observe that he's witnessing this.
Yeah.
He takes pictures, but he doesn't actually like intervene in any way. And he
I mean, he would have been killed right away if he
right. He
intervened.
thinks about that, and he thinks about how like he can't even use this in a story right now because it's going to get a delist.
Yeah.
Right. So he's doing what he normally does, but also grappling with the fact that this is fucking pointless.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, what is this changing? What is this helping?
Yeah.
You know?
Then we get a shout out to Hopper's the Nighthawks in the panel on the next page, complete with the diner being called Hoppers, which is just just for your art aficionados right there.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where we get a reminder of the Whole, a news organization that has been brought up a few times and, like I've mentioned, is going to become increasingly important.
Yeah.
As we can tell in this volume, because Spider is reminded that it exists and gets the lowdown on basically how to find it. And this is sort of like the late '90s understanding of what hacking and like routing.
Yeah. It's like that's not really how hacking works, but it's like it's just hacking in movies and TV shows and anything like that. It's just you have to just suspend disbelief because mostly it's just numbers on a screen. It's not terribly exciting.
Yeah. So Spider, with his like super advanced computer, is able to locate the current location of the computer's servers for the Whole, and is able to reach out to them and offer them his story that had been delisted. And by releasing it on the Whole, it causes like a lot of chaos, and a bunch of news reporters like run up to Spider. And at first he says, "Column, I know no column," and then and then we have him getting interviewed about the example or like the existence of delisting. And so it's this weird scenario that because like it's Spider's intent, but it's the scenario is that because Spider created this big story about a delisted story, they're able to do coverage of delisting in general, even though previously it was indicated that delisting was going to be a thing that was like coverage of delisting was delistable material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, re-examining material to see if it's actually worth and displaying to the news. Like, we literally just had something like this happen. The CBS report about that prison that was down in where was it? Case, where was that prison? It was in South America. Where the hell was it called? Was it the Seacot prison?
I don't know this report that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was the CBS report that there was an episode that 60 Minutes was going to do on Seacot, which was the containment camp, the Salvadorian prison, where all the people that are being deported were being sent to, was a referred to as a terrorism confinement center, Seacot, and it was going to be covered on CBS News, and now that CBS is owned by Paramount, they pulled the episode.
I know what you're talking about.
But
yeah,
Canada aired it, and now it's available for free everywhere, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, why did they not show this? We need to see this." They're realizing that CBS is folded. They're realizing that this episode that was essentially delisted was not being shown to the American public, but everybody else got to see it.
You're right. I heard about this. I didn't know the specifics, but
it's like Guantanamo Bay levels of depravity.
Yeah.
And these people have done nothing wrong. It's like so they don't have a green card to be here. Big deal. Most of these people did not do anything wrong. So, and by the way, being here as an illegal citizen is a misdemeanor, not a crime.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't have the military or anybody involved in that in the first place. But yeah, we're off to a bang with 2026. Anyways, yeah, that's an example of modern day delisting. It's just pulling that entire story. Like the
Yeah.
two notes I had regarding this storyline were get the truth out there any way you can. It's like in Canada aired it. They said, yeah, we're not beholden to American policies. We're another country. We can do whatever we want. So, and also the other thing I noted was the masses are stupid. Be aggressive. Make them listen. You know, you should be getting in their faces. If you're trying to tell them really important stuff, it is important to be aggressive. You know, I've always kind of had this feeling that modern day journalism has been defanged in many ways. I think that a lot of it is a little too not clean and sanitized, but a little too nice. I think it would behoove them to be a little more pissed off, because it would get people to listen, it get people to pay attention. I think that's modern day journalism is suffering because of it.
Well, yeah. So Spider, after getting interviewed about the nature of D-list, goes outside, and we get a little bit of a face-off against the police again. Um, and he just sort of cockily points his fingers at them and says, "Evening, officers. Keep the street, keeping the streets safe from the likes of me. Be seeing you." Uh, and just sort of goes off to sort of stew in thinking about what he has done in this whole situation. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I like the quick panel of Royce, like just being content and happy with
Mm-hmm.
Spider. Again,
yeah.
I think their friendship is so fun. Like it's really great.
I love that fucking asshole.
Well, yeah, and like Spider is being complimentary about Royce at the moment, where he says, "My editor's a
Yeah,
good man."
yeah. They can have
Uh,
their problems, but he's a good editor. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and
He's got
he
his back.
yeah, and Royce was not happy about the D-list situation, and so he's happy that Spider has circumvented it.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
So then we get into the last issue of the three that are the standalones before we get into the Gouge Away like three-part arc that wraps up this volume. And so this one is a Shannon and Yelena on their own and their escapades issue.
Hell yeah.
I love this story.
Now I
I
love
love
the
this so
story.
much.
It did occur to me when I was reading that. So I was like trying to think about how much this book like uh passes the Bechtel test. And I was like, it's so weird because they even draw attention to it where Shannon and Yelena like can't help but like talk about Spider a lot when they're on their own. Um,
Yeah. And then they say we have no lives.
right. Now
Yeah.
they draw attention to it and they do succeed. Like they have enough conversations about stuff in this issue just by itself that the series like passes the Bechtel test. But it is interesting to me where it's like how narrowly it just barely succeeds.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and like that's like kind of an annoying detail about just like the writing of a series. I mean, again, Spider Jerusalem is supposed to be this sort of like lauded character, but the fact is that everyone talks about him when he's not in the room. Is a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a reflection on Warren Ellis at the time. He was riding high. He was making a lot of money. He was writing multiple stories. He was working for DC at the time. He was rolling in dough. He was on the up. He's king of the world. It's like,
Yeah.
and there was talk. I think this was around the time when this was coming out. There was talk of doing the adaptation of Transmet. They were talking about doing a web series at one point. It never really materialized. I think this is around the time that was starting to pop up. Patrick Stewart was going to play Spider
Yeah.
Jerusalem.
Yeah. We talked about that. There was another one where they wanted to have Tim Roth play him too. So
Yeah, I think at this point, just unfortunately, because of the way
yeah.
television is now, I don't think he could really do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Also, that means having to pay Warren Ellis money and the baggage that he carries, and he can't really do that.
Right.
I think one of the highlights of this issue for me, besides the fact that it's about the two of them, which I love, I mentioned before, the whole she says literally, Christ, you're turning into him. She has Yelena has so many moments of just like unhinged action that is so Spider. Like the
The close-up panel of her face when she's having a meltdown.
yes, like that's great. Her finding the giant gun, but like, look what I found, like with the big smile on her face.
Can I have it?
That's Spider as hell, and I was kind
Yeah.
of like, wow, yeah, she is
Yeah.
really kind of turning into him. So
Yeah. The crux of this issue is very simple. Even in times of fascism, find a way to have fun.
yeah,
So, just like, we're going through it right now. Like I said, this is a very prescient series. Even in times when fascism is rising up, find a way to unwind any way you can.
hmm
You can't just be miserable all the time. So
and of course, it's also about like the looming threat to his extended circle. We have to
yeah,
we get to address that. Um,
they're
but
being
yeah,
followed. They're being
Yeah.
they're being attacked. Yeah,
Yes.
but
So,
I like it. I
so
like it being about the two of them. I like them. I like Spider barely a pinner in this issue. I like
Mm.
that.
yeah. It opens with the two of them sneaking out. Spider is apparently asleep. And they take a taxi to a bar. We see them get drinks. Um, and this is where we get the first moment of the Yelena is turning into Spider bit, because she has to stop for cigarettes. And Shannon's like, you don't have to smoke that much when he's not around. She's like, no, I'm just used to it.
yeah. And then they talk about how he like never changes his pants, and so all the sweat that piles up in his crotch is like becoming a gelatinous shell. It's just,
Yeah,
I will give Warren Ellis credit where credit is due. He knows how to make you feel disgusted. I will give him credit where credit is due. He knows how to have a really good word play with his language. I'll give him that.
yeah. Well, we add more
Yeah.
fuel to the shipping Yelena and Spider fire, uh, uh, be,
Yeah.
because apparently Yelena doesn't have to do this. This again brings up like how long was Shannon goddamn Spider's assistant? Like
Yeah.
Shannon has like all these stories of like, oh yeah, back when I was his assistant, I had to do like all these things, and like in book time, she was like his assistant for like 6 issues. Uh,
Yeah.
but she has like all these stories, and then like Yelena was like his assistant for like 12 issues, and it was like a week.
Maybe
Yeah,
Warren
exactly.
just forgot. I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, Warren Ellis has taken his fair share of drugs in the past. So I don't know. Maybe he was a little fucked up at the time and just
No, I mean
forgot it.
it's just like a funny detail in terms of like the compression of time there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, again, it sets up that Yelena is, uh, like I said, like she gets some special treatment from Spider in a way that Shannon did not. And for whatever reason, it is the culprit for it. Spider is treating her differently. Um,
Yeah.
and then it digresses into them like coming up with this like disgusting scenario of describing Spider's clothing like being this like gelatinous mold that like sort of like fuses to his body, and that is super disgusting, like we were just like alluding to it. And at the end of it all, like that's where they like kind of like look down and they're like, man, like we're on our own and we can't help but just like talk to them, we have no lives.
Yeah,
And
I'm looking at
like
the close up of Yelena's face again. It just looks like him with hair. It just looks like
Yeah.
Spider with hair. It's just, yeah,
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I can believe that there are notes about that
yeah,
specifically. Through it all, while they're going out shopping, we've been getting hints that people have been observing, and like finally, Shannon has gotten a hint that someone has been observing them,
yeah,
and so they detour to a gun store, and we get some fun bits here. First of all, we get some funness with just Shannon being like such a good like haggler when it comes to talking guns.
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Again, super worldly. Like
Street smart.
this is the scene that like made me like question like why she wasn't aware of foglets. Like she just like seemed so like on top of things.
If you're gonna be doing this kind of stuff, my note for this one was be prepared to fight physically. There are always people out there in service of evil powers. It's like if you're gonna be doing this kind of stuff, like trying to expose truth about fascism, totalitarianism, you better be prepared for people to show up and want to try to kill you. You should be prepared. It's like it's the perfect example of walk softly but carry a big stick. They
Yeah.
need to be armed. They have to be armed.
Well, and
You
in
know?
this case, they get really good sticks that are small and snub nose on purpose.
Mhm.
Um, and then I find this hilarious. The target practice that they go to is all Zhang. It's all Shannon's ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these things, okay, so what do you make of this? Are these like brainless clones that they actually kill?
They seem to react when they get shot. Like,
There's a
so,
lot of blood.
yeah.
Like,
This is the whole series is just this perfect sci-fi future where yeah, it's a fucked up world, but basically anything you want, you can get it. You know what I realized this whole series is? This is the dark web manifested into reality. Like any fucked up thing you can think of, yeah, it's here. It's here. It's like that's what it is. So maybe they are just clones of her ex-boyfriend. That's all they
yeah.
are. They're aware of what's going on. They just can't do anything about it.
I mean, they clone people for meat to eat. So, I mean, this
Yeah.
is just another
Yeah.
step. You know what I mean?
I
So,
mean, that's probably where the human race is going to go. Like with the destruction of the ecosystem, like we're running out of food, to places to grow food, and animals are dying off. We're probably going to start cloning meat to have protein.
yeah.
That's probably where we're going.
And that then we turn into the Morlocks eating I forget the name of the other creatures in the time machine.
Oh god damn it!
Um,
What are they called? Morlocks and
We'll get stuck in
I
that.
have to look it up or I'm gonna have a meltdown. Damn it.
but that is the future. Like that is how we get to that future where it's just like, oh, we were like cloning things and then to eat them, and then all of a sudden it's just like we were cloning humans to eat them. And then we were like, oh well, if they're free range, it's more ethical than brainless.
The Eloy. The
The
Eloy.
Eloi. Okay.
Yeah, the Eloy. Yeah. Which sounds like
Anyway,
Aloy from
Horizon.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
so Shannon tells the story about the first time she ever like shot someone, and she tells the story of blowing off the testicle of a rapist who was going after her best friend. She was 12 at the time, and sort of chalks this up to like this is what public schools are like. Yelena's like, I went to a private school, and she does okay with her shots. Ultimately, her first attempt is apparently the elbow of one of these Zhang clones. But then the rest of her shots apparently decimate the body.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they go out and immediately they get picked up or they get assaulted by the people who are following them. So a car pulls up and Channing grabs the woman who had been tailing them, and they don't find out anything from them. It's just basically like a counter threat that Shannon does, where it's just being like, I'm just pointing out to you that I'm not afraid of you, so like fuck you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
I'm
mean,
I'm
they
curious.
probably know who it is. So
I'm curious if we ever get like confirmation of this. Obviously, don't tell me, but like if we know who this is, because it didn't feel like an overt threat from the president. You know what I mean? It felt like there was
mm.
something else going on here, but that might just be like a dodge or something like that.
Well, I mean, if you keep up with, current day situations, you know that the president's not at the top of the food chain. It's
Well,
like
yeah, but
there's always somebody else above it. There's always a bigger fish.
well, it's more just about how the lady reacted.
Yeah.
Like it
It
didn't seem like, that kind of thing. So that's why I was kind of curious. I'm like, I wonder if there's something more there. Is that what I was thinking? So
Yeah. It is kind of funny that I'm looking at this now, I'm realizing that the woman that was trailing them with the black hair looks a lot like the main character from Global Frequency. The uh
Oh
the
yeah, I can see that.
the head of
mm,
the organization looks a lot like her. I know it's just probably a coincidence because I think Robinson also did some work on that series as well.
yeah.
That was all one-shot issues. So at one point was going to be coming back as a series, and then it just never materialized. I think that was around the time that the stuff came out about Ellis, and then they ended up putting that on ice.
So Shannon and Yelena deal with these people who've come after them. They don't actually like kill them. They just like shoot at the car and like disarm the one woman, and then they go to a bar and they take shots and throw them at a punching bag that's in there.
Mhm.
And they go to a park to sort of discuss the situation, and they discuss how they hate their lives, but at the same time they feel alive from this job. Like that Spider is right and that they're on the right path, and it sort of affirms like their commitment to the journey that we're on. And being audience surrogates to a certain degree. They're supposed to like make us feel like that. Oh yeah, no, Spider is certainly the voice of reason in this whole situation. And then they say like, yeah, like there's nothing quite like working with this horrible bastard, because if there is, we would go and do that immediately. Oh yeah, totally. And then they walk off, and behind them, Spider shows up, and that's where he says like, they love my ass, and he picks up this like pigeon that died while they were like feeding it or something,
Yeah.
and then just like takes a bite out of it, and it's just such a weird scene.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
in earlier storylines, the TV storyline, doesn't he get like a whole bucket of, was it deer's eyeballs or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, like
All
caribou
kinds
eyes.
of
Yeah,
weird shit
Caribou
like that.
eyes.
Yeah.
It's like this is the universe where just that's just one thing that I will say I don't like in this series is the level of animal cruelty. I especially considering when we get into Gouge Away and the puppy gets hit.
yes,
Well,
Uh,
we talked about it. He hates dogs. We're very
yeah, I
convinced.
I I don't like the level of animal cruelty that is in this series. That does bother me a lot. I mean, maybe it's just post John Wick effect, where anytime I see things like that, it's like, okay, fuck off. So yeah, I just there is a lot of animal cruelty, and maybe that's just the fact that just this world is just uncaring towards animals. It
yeah,
just does not care.
Yeah.
So it is
I
kind of
think
funny seeing the park bench and it says time expired. You have to pay for your time to sit down.
yeah.
It reminds me of
Um,
those benches that have the anti-homelessness bar that has
yep.
been put on them, so homeless people can't sleep on them. That's that's
Well, in this
great.
universe, apparently, it releases Ebola if you are sleeping on it. So
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we saw that in
yeah,
a previous issue.
yeah.
Um, I think the shocking thing about him just eating the pigeons is because I mean, there's weird animal stuff, but it comes in cans. This is a guy eating a dead bird off the ground. That's what
Yep.
makes it different to me. Like
Probably
that's
has some kind of
roadkill,
disease in it, but
basically.
he's so doped up on all kinds of drugs that they could probably kill off whenever he eats.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I mean, like certainly this world that they exist in has a certain degree of panacea potions that inoculate everyone from the majority of diseases. Like they point out that people live to 100 just by accident. And then we get into the proper Gouge Away arc, the three-part arc that concludes this volume. A bit of news. We sort of catch different types of stories that are going on. Some of this indicating the pressure that Spider has put on the presidential administration. We catch in with what was going on with the Beast, and then Spider gets a visit from an arms dealer.
Yeah. I think there's probably the most chilling thing I've read in this series so far is the panel of the Oval Office on message ring saying we'd really like to encourage the American community out of sexual surgery practices. And I'm like,
Oh yeah,
Well, that hit home.
that didn't hit close to home. That hit home. Yeah, that like hit a home. Like I was like, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Like that one I literally chilled for a minute when I read that. I was like, Jesus. Like,
This has been
yeah.
around for a long time, this stuff. Yeah, this is probably the most on the nose of this entire series, this three arc, the three issue arc, where it's just like, yep, this is just today. We're
I
living
really
through it.
I really like this arc because it's very revolutionary. It's very take it back. You know what I mean? Like that's the message. It's like
Yeah.
don't lay down. And I really like that because it's easy to just lay down. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, and to see Spider be so focused, you know what I mean? And so not just focused on one thing, but on a wide plan with multiple parts. We're gonna break it down a bit, I'm sure, but just to see him like execute this large thing is just really great. Like I really
Yeah.
like it. It's like the most I've really been behind Spider is this arc, I think.
yeah. Well, like I said, this is where Spider like starts to really mount his offensive.
Right.
Yeah. By using the truth against the people that are in power. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like exposing corruption within the church with
Yeah.
the corruption within the political systems. Like it's getting people to off themselves. It's like, it's like that's one Vita. It's like, yeah, like
yeah.
he doesn't do it himself directly, but he may as well have pulled the trigger.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. So, I just want to go beat by beat on this.
Yeah, 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 of
So,
course.
Arms dealer. So Spider gets a bunch of equipment, which will be important, and they mention how much of the various materials that he gets, so that those are things for us to kind of like keep track of mentally. He gets a carton of G sanitize and then ID trash can. The two things seem very similar, but they both effectively wipe away his residue if he's in a location. And he also gets a pair of guns that we
Mhm.
see him sling over his shoulders and mount up. The assistants are not aware of the guns though because they're under his jacket, and that'll be important as the series goes on.
Mhm.
Yeah, he keeps them purposely out of this whole arc too,
Yeah.
which I think is very interesting. I
Yeah.
will point out one thing that I kind of connected with this equipment he's getting and his level of preparation is it took me back to the interview with the Smiler where he was caught off guard, where the Smiler outsmarted him. And we were talking about that's the first time someone actually, got one up on him and deactivated his equipment and would, his recording didn't work and he was actually caught off guard. And I had this impression of him being so prepared. He's like, not again. I was like, yes, fuck yeah.
And I like that the guy, the arms dealer guy, is like, "You're our man. Don't blow it for us." Like
Yeah.
it shows the Spider has like the this like cachet of popularity and faith from people.
Mhm.
Do we have anybody like that these days? Like somebody we would all get behind if they did something like this?
No one this big.
Yeah,
No, not one person. No.
that's a shame.
I mean, like a Jon Stewart, maybe. It's like
Yeah,
a Stephen Colbert.
but like I was saying earlier on, I think that they've been sort of defanged because they're on major networks and they turn everything into a joke. It's like some of this stuff isn't funny, guys.
On the note of not being funny, Spider is not making jokes at this point. So he goes
Yeah.
to visit Kristen, the political consultant character, fixer character who turned into a drug dealer, now is a bar owner and has the reverse Charlie Brown bodyguard that Spider threatens with his bowel disruptor and then smacks in the head with several of these people, and then kicks one of them out the window and it falls on a dog, which we were just talking about
Yeah,
the
that
hatred of dogs.
God.
Man, they really want you to feel bad for this one too, because they draw it as like the most adorable looking like puppy you can imagine.
Yeah, if this came out now, this series would be canceled immediately. So, yeah, the John Wick effect is still happening. Yeah. So, it's
That is the edgelord humor of the series, but it is in character for Spider. We should
yeah,
emphasize
that's
that.
yeah, that's the thing with Spider is that as motivational as he can be as an influence to the populace, uh he is still an asshole. This is
Yeah.
not a good man in any way really. So,
That's one of the ongoing things we've said is the quote of you're not wrong, you're just an asshole. Like that's the most
yep.
Spider thing. Yeah.
You're not wrong, you're just an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Spider continues to beat up the various people working at this bar, and then goes into the back room to deal with Kristen. Points out that he is not magical, true saying bastard Spidey, and brings up the fact that she made a lot of money on a bet that someone was going to get assassinated in the political teams for one of the two candidates, and it was a weird amount of money that she put in, and indicates that she knew that this was happening.
Backroom dealings, so you can make a bunch of money on the back end.
Spider flat out indicates that she knew that this was coming, and questions her about like where she got the word from. She tries to get out of it, but the scene cuts away when Spider says, "You've never met me before," as
Mhm.
he like continues to question her. And I do want to call attention to just like the really nice effect of her reflection in his sunglasses
Mhm.
in that panel. It's just good looking art there.
Yeah, it's one of the most angry images. It's just that also with the little curly cue of smoke rising just above his head to indicate steam. I was like, okay, he's pissed. He's really pissed. It's like I love that.
So then Spider visits a church and intervenes on a interaction between a priest and a young girl who he sends her away and gives her some money, and she says, "Thank you, Spider." Because again, everyone knows who Spider is, and this is a scenario where his fame allows him to actually protect a person.
Yeah.
He is not just a stranger in this scenario. He's Spider Jerusalem, so she's able to trust him in a way that she wouldn't someone else. Um,
How she knows who he is odd. Like
he's
she's
that famous.
okay.
Yeah, everybody knows who he is. So
Okay.
But it turns out that this priest is part of a right love cell, which
which we
is
talked about before.
yep. So one of the big the big buttons for Ellis in this whole series is this kind of like Nambla kind of bullshit,
Yeah.
uh, sex with
Yeah.
minors stuff.
Yeah.
And it was right in that era when that was like a thing that was in the news. So
Was this around the time that the what was that movie Spotlight? Remember that the whole breaking the story about all of the sex abuse allegations between
Yeah,
in the Catholic Church? Was this around the time
this
that
is
happened?
this is well before the movie. I have no idea when it happened in relation to the actual events. But I mean, certainly the conversations about like the Catholic Church, for example, was a big thing coming out in the '90s into the 2000s. So like relative to the Spotlight story specifically, it was a burgeoning thing in the zeitgeist. But anyway, so it turns out that this guy has a weird connection with Alan Schacht, the political director uh, of the Smilers campaign. Um, and so we find out, well, that there's some interesting connections here, and they Spider is starting to collect his network of stories and evidence again. And when he emerges, one thing that is sort of really fun about it is that Spider's knuckles are bloodied,
Mm.
which there's a badass shot of him lighting a cigarette with his bloody knuckles.
yeah.
Which became the cover of the I have the old editions of this series, the old versions of the story from the 1990s that were released in trades.
Yeah.
That image became the cover of the original first trade. That image, I think that was one of the first things that Derek Robinson actually drew was that image of Spider lighting up a cigarette.
Well, the spider lighting up a cigarette part is iconic, and we get that all the time. I just
Yeah.
mean like this specific shot of him with the bloody knuckles is
Oh yeah,
interesting.
it's pointing
Yeah.
out that he beat the living crap out of the priest.
Yeah, and then we get the next page is a splash page, which is what is the cover of the current version of the trade, which is him saying, "I'm nobody's fucking cartoon,"
Right. Yeah.
and it's a really good looking shot of Spider.
I do like we get the impression he's playing for fucking keeps in this arc, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the next issue opens with Spider making a visit on Fred Christ. Welcome back, Fred.
Again, you piece of shit.
What an asshole. God, I hate this guy so much. What a great villain, though.
Yeah, so Spider breaks into Fred Christ's sex lair. I don't know what to describe it as.
Harem, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And notes that he is no longer fucking around as he shoots one of Christ's bodyguards with his bowel disruptor, and causes him to have horrific. What the setting is rectal volcano.
We get to learn several of the settings in this arc.
Yeah.
Again, Ellis's wordplay. I will never, I will never disparage the wordplay.
What I would note here is we talked before about how it was actually pretty infrequent to see someone actually be the recipient of the bowel disruptor. Like it
Yeah.
was usually played for comedy, and by being played for comedy, it was funnier to cut away before we actually saw someone get shot with it. It would be
Yeah.
like it's like this is a bowel disruptor and you're full of shit, and then cut away. Like those kind of moments there.
Yeah.
These are the moments where he is not fucking around, where it's being played for seriousness, and those are the times where we actually see it.
You know what it reminds me of? You remember in Minority Report the batons that the cops would carry, the six stick? where it would make you involuntarily vomit in order to incapacitate you.
Oh
That's what it
yeah.
kind of reminds me of. I don't know if somebody on Minority Report's prop department was a fan of this series, but this seems like a very weird connection. I don't know if it's, I mean, it's just liquids going out of ends of the body. I don't know if
Yeah.
that was intentional, but it's kind of a nice coincidence, I suppose.
Every
So.
hole.
God. Or Orgasmo, where the ending of that is like he makes the villain constantly orgasm to the point where they
Yeah.
have to amputate. Jesus Christ.
So Spider now is quizzing Christ about his own connections to well the horrors and everything that got run through the whole situation with the Smilers people. Then Spider goes out. We have this interesting is the wrong word. We have this moment where he gets approached by Bruce Cunt, a newspaper or a reporter for Street Stink. And it's just a moment for Spider to just enact some violence against a smug journalist.
Yeah. I think it's meant to be a comment on like TMZ or like shitty news journalism or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if TMZ specifically is the kind of thing, but like certainly the what is supposed to be a more prestigious, but it's just like a interview style journalist. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess supposed to be like a puff piece to kind of increase his reputation at the station. Like, hey, I got an interview with Spider. This is awesome. So I think it's kind of what it's meant to be, and then he gets his fucking nose broken.
Yeah.
So
I like so much that we're calling back to so much of what's happened so far in this issue, leading to the next bit, which is the Far Side Community Reservation, which was cool. I really liked that
Yes.
coming back.
yes, I like this place.
And I like how far the Farside community has come since the last time we checked in with them. Like the designs for them have become tremendously more advanced.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like Silk. I really dig that character.
Yeah, she feels like kind of concepts and ideas that would be later extrapolated out for the Ellis series. Was it Doctor Sleepless, I believe, for Avatar. Basically the transhumanism elements, people modifying their bodies with cybernetic parts. That series also did not get finished, unfortunately. He was planning to return to it, he never did, and now Avatar has gone belly up, so that series is never returning. But yeah, it feels like an extension. This feels like the early prototype version of Doctor Sleepless content.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So it sets up that Spider is using their what they call telefactoring system. What it does is it creates a clone puppet for you to operate remotely. And so Spider is going to telefactor into California and as a way of avoiding being observed to leave the city by the president, and especially being observed to going to California, which is where the president's family lives. And so this is his way of using his connections here to get around traditional means of detection.
it's like a drone,
really cool.
kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like a drone.
And I really like the way we kind of saw it with the arms dealer and now here where Spider's doing this stuff, but also the people around him support him. You know what I mean? Like they're like, we know there's something wrong. You know what I mean? Like, because part of this story is the Smiler tricked the public. You know what I mean? And like, it's really cool to see that they didn't turn on Spider, the public as a whole. So yeah.
So Spider reflects on the timeline for his column, which is going to become a thing as the issue gets closer, and he goes to a bar where the lead guy from the Dante Street riot is drinking. And Spider basically tells everyone to get out of there, and everyone is compliant with this whole scenario, and he just beats the shit out of this dude.
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy that they actually brought these guys back because I remember when we reviewed that volume, I was like, if these guys just fade away into nothingness, I'm gonna be fucking furious.
Yeah. Here we go. Boom.
Right.
You know what it feels like now with 2026 classes? This feels like beating the living shit out of a Proud Boy that was at January 6th.
Yep.
That's what it feels like. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, they're still walking around. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that kind of catharsis right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Bad guy got away with it. Nope. You didn't. You got away from the cops, but not from me.
So then he goes to the hotel that the Smiler stayed at, and beats up the receptionist, who he notes is a former pimp and probably was still a pimp.
I just love this guy's this guy's hair is so stupid. It's so dumb. Oh my God.
So this was the hotel where he had the interview case because like remember when he was invited to interview the Smiler?
When the Smiler is in town for his campaign
The
trail.
Smiler,
Yeah, it's
yes.
the same hotel because you could see it's got those golden floors that were all like gel and squishy we talked about. So it's literally the same hotel. So this he literally comes back to this place,
It's
which
not
is
the same
very
hotel as where he met the Beast, though, which I
Yeah.
think
oh
where
the Beast was the
yeah,
one with the yellow floors. That's right.
that's
Never
a
mind.
different hotel.
You're right. You're right.
Um,
Okay, I just saw the yellow floors and I was like, ah, it's the same. But you're
because
right.
that was the Hotel Fat, and this is the Hotel Avalon.
Oh, you're right. It was Hotel Fat. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, so he threatens this guy, and we don't see all the information that he gets out of him. He visits the Vita Severn memorial site, and says he hasn't forgotten a thing as he lights a candle for her. And then Royce wakes up with Spider Jerusalem having emailed him to send a column, and it's like right before midnight, so it's right before the deadline for release. Now,
Mm.
some of this works on the way that publishing used to work, where you actually had printing presses and so forth. They're still printing windows and so forth, but with like an opinion piece column, the the deadlines part is
This is the most dated part of this story.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you only have so much time to get it by. Like you can either get it to print or you can get it to approvals. You can't do both. Like in the
Yeah.
real world, like now with like digital prints,
You
like
can just take it down right away if it goes up too quick. You can just,
exactly.
but even then, if you do put it up and it's not something you meant to put up, it will still get screen capped by somebody and end up on like a Reddit thread. So things you didn't mean to get, that somebody didn't mean to get out there in the public, will still be out there available for people in the unedited version. So,
Yeah.
so I guess it still applies in a general respect, but yeah, this does feel like the most dated part of the story. Yeah.
Well, and it's just a logistics thing. Like the story requires certain narrative conveniences just to exist. Like that, and I've pointed
We're
them
on
out
this
before.
timetable.
Yeah,
We have to meet this timetable.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a world like that we have to roll with, and that we don't need to know. Like none of us know enough about future publishing that we'll be able to anticipate like all the things. So we might as well just like have here's a plot MacGuffin and just roll with it. It's fine.
Yeah. It as if I could just plug my own work again, because I'm a whore like that. I've noticed that if you want to add like a drama to your scene, add a ticking clock. It's the simplest trick. Just add a ticking clock. That's it. It makes everything feel much more what's the word I'm looking for? Not dramatic, but imperative. It's like we need to get this done by this time or bad shit's gonna happen. It's like, I mean, really, if you think about it, Spider could just wait till the next week. If you really
Right.
think about it, he could just wait till the next week to release this stuff. There is no real deadline. It's just for the sake of the story and for the drama of the scene, he's got to get it out as fast as possible. If you want some drama, add a ticking clock.
And Spider ends the issue with sort of noting that uh, they are going to circumvent the whole delist situation by bypassing approvals, and in the end, they'll have told the truth. Haha. And then we get into the reactions to Spider's column hitting as it did. We see newspapers with a headline with Spider's Web and different analysts like discussing it. I do like the one news guy with the smart glasses that are like just this weird semicircle that like goes around his head.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's an inversion of Spider's glasses.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's based on the same design as Spider's glasses, and
Yeah.
so I just find it like so ridiculous. Uh,
Yeah. It's just, and he just looks so zoned out. It's like he's not even paying attention to what he's actually supposed to be doing.
yeah.
So,
So meanwhile, Royce comes into the office and the board of directors wants to speak with him. So it's like dun dun dun, like there's going to be some repercussions for his actions.
hmm
Yeah. So Spider is so we see like different coverage of various things that are going on, including discussions with the like with Callahan's family, like news coverage there, and we see coverage of like people trying to like see what's going on with Alan Shack. We get a big splash page of the Smiler just saying Spider fucking Jerusalem, and then Shack shoots himself, and then and Spider goes one down, Vita.
I
yeah.
have to call attention to the very simple line. Mrs. Callahan says the president's penis is quite small and crooked.
Yes.
Fuck. That hurt me. Like
Yeah.
I took splash damage from that shit. Like I was like, oh man, fuck. Like so
It's a very particular note.
yeah, it's like Jesus. Like all the other things are just like really over the top, and that one is just like you have a weird
Yeah.
dick. Like,
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
let me very carefully explain what a piece of shit you are.
exactly.
Yeah, when Shaq finally offs himself, I made a note that's one of my favorite quotes from Oscar Wilde. Though it's attributed to him, but it's not known if he actually said it.
Mm.
One of my favorite quotes ever. Some men only improve this world by leaving it. It's like that motherfucker, good.
Yep.
No one's gonna miss you.
Then we look back into the apartment, and the assistants are taking phone calls with people who want to talk to Spider Jerusalem. And they are delaying all those calls, and Spider takes the phones away from them and says that he has died for their sins and shat himself. Um,
And I make note of the piece of artwork where he grabs the phones and it says a little tiny word snatch out of the hands of Yelena.
yes.
I just mean just little things like that. I just like those little bits.
But Spider tells them to have most of their things like sent to a safe location and to grab a bug out bag each. And then we get a nice little callback here where he says, "Trust the fuckhead." Cut to Robert McX, our favorite news commentator, discussing all the shit that's been going on with the Smilers' approval ratings and so forth, and what's going on with Alan Schacht. Then we cut to the president masturbating into the American flag.
Funny story. I got to stop right now.
Nope.
So
I don't
the
know what the story is.
so the day I quit my job as a personal trainer at the gym, I I worked for this guy, piece of shit asshole. I wrote him in as the villain in my book. He was a Navy guy for like 8 years. He's super MAGA, very right wing. He would refer to Asians as Chinamen. So this is a bad guy, a horrible person. When I quit, I said, "Go fucking jerk off into the American flag, you asshole." And I walked out. It's like, yeah, that guy was a dick. And I pulled that right from this. I was like, so yeah, that bit right there, that just, yes,
Yeah,
perfect.
it stands out. It's a
It really
memorable
does
scene.
stand
It
out.
really does, yeah.
So then we get Royce being raked over the coals by the board of directors, and he says like, "Don't be weak. Like, enjoy the notoriety that comes from having told the truth."
Mhm.
Meanwhile, we see some more news stories about everything that's gone on with the Dante Street killing, with the interview he got with the douchebag who was the leader of that group. Meanwhile, we get Kristen escaping from her bar, and before she gets even to her car, someone in a one of those like blur suits shoots her dead, and also kills her like entire like little like
That was shocking.
posse.
Like that
Mhm.
happening because it was like this whole victory, you know, like it felt like a big victory for them. And then this was like a moment of like there is a cost. But then I was also looking at it, right? And I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, double checking. We don't ever see who did this.
Correct.
Mhm.
And they have two guns. This lady contributed to the death of Vita. I'm just gonna throw that out there. And yeah. I have theories.
I'm not gonna add anything.
Okay, yeah.
I'll let that theory linger. I'm not going to comment.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's jumping ahead.
Yeah, it very specifically does not tell us who it is, so I thought
Yeah.
that was interesting. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we cut back to Royce having or coming out of talking to the board of directors, downtrodden. We cut back to Spider with the assistants and Royce calling, and Spider is on top of this whole situation. He is aware that everything he has done he's crossed the line, and that he's getting fired for all of his bullshit. It's amazing that this is the line for all that stuff.
Right.
But
Yeah, like everything else prior to this wasn't over the line. Okay.
but it speaks to Spider knowing like what he can get away with and what he can't, and like uh fucking with the politics of everything. Like that's where he can't get away with it all.
From a modern day situation, you could probably say like because when you see the group of investors on the previous page, they're just in shadow. You don't see who it is, and it's never said who they are. You could tangentially make implications that they might be financially supportive of the Smiler in a
Oh
way.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you can, and so because of the bullshit that's been laid at the Smiler's feet because of Spider, there's like, no, we have to fucking cut him loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
even like one of my favorite shows, The Newsroom. Um, if you stand up to power, power can like keep you out of important meetings and such. Like that,
Yeah.
it could just simply be capitalism. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Doesn't the newsroom end with Jeff Daniels going to jail because he said the truth?
yeah,
It's like,
for a
yeah,
while.
yeah. So,
So Spider is ahead of things. He has drained his bank accounts dry. He has used the company credit cards. He's maxed them out, so he's prepared. And so Spider is pretty nonchalant, as Royce is like, no, your journalism insurance is cut off. Like everything is cut off. Like you're poison. No paper's gonna touch you. Like
He's
this
like,
is
no,
it.
no, it's okay, it's fine. Like, yeah, no, I already planned ahead. Like, I love it.
And Spider leaves saying like that Royce has always been good by him, and that they're not gonna see him anytime soon, but he'll be seeing that, which is to say the Spider's gonna be in the news.
Yeah,
yeah.
Um,
oh yeah,
and he leaves the phone right after they're gone. The police are there to evict them, because they were just like immediately going to be jumping on, like as soon as
Oh, yeah.
Spider got fired, the police were called in to evict them. Like
Yep. Find an excuse to put him
yeah.
in jail.
and beat him a bit.
And they arrive to find the entire place empty except for the maker, which is releases a horrible Martian venereal disease in everyone. Uh,
God, one last spider.
yeah, and the last page of the story is Spider with Yelena and Shannon running off into the city. Now they're cut free from their cushy gig with the Word, and they're about to go do some journalism, dangerously. They're as outlaw journalists.
Yeah,
Well,
with the
now it's
with
true Hunter S. Thompson territory. It's like just straight up gonzo journalism, not working for anybody but themselves.
with a stacked bank account.
With a sack bank
Yes.
account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the conclusion of Gouge Away. Keith, how we feeling?
I like how this wraps up. Like I said, the first story was weird, but then I do think the rest of it is really cohesive. And this three-parter is again might be my favorite arc so far, just because it's like hit back. You know, it's like
Yeah.
get yours back. Um, and I fucking hated Alan. You know that. Every time he came up, I was like, fucking Alan. And
Mhm.
so seeing him get his is great. Fuck him. I think he's the only person I hate more than the Smiler because he's like the Smiler, but also a little bitch. So
Well,
like
clearly also a pedophile too. So there's
yeah, well that
that.
too. Yeah,
There's that too.
I learned that though. I hated him from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm starting to see like dominoes are falling, and I really really like that. And I
Mhm.
do like the idea that they're going out on their own. They're going to be doing their own thing. You know, like we're breaking up the status quo a bit. I think that's going to be fun. Um, and it comes with some interesting dangers possibly. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes from here. But highlight to me was probably the two assistants story. I thought that was a lot of fun. Really cute. I like them
Yeah.
a lot. So
It's always fun to
Yelena
get
has
a.
grown to me so much.
Oh yeah, she's great. She like
She only
Shannon.
gets better as the series goes on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shannon comes in strong. Yelena like is very mousy at first, and then like blooms as a wonderful flower.
Yeah, she's a particular type of character trope that I love, which I'd hate to reference No Game and Twice on one podcast, but Door from Neverwhere is the epitome of that trope. The kind of like small, unassuming girl, but then also becomes like a real character as you go on. I love that character trope. And so yeah, I really like where she's going with it.
Like awesome growth for that character, and great issue with the two of them. I have to agree, it's a really fun romp in there. Um, we have identified this thing about the Transmet formula where they will do like these like 3-issue arcs,
Hmm.
and then they'll do like 3-issue breather episodes, and then they'll do like another arc. And so we have seen that now has been the format for the last like 3 volumes, I want to say.
Hmm.
Yeah, rule of threes. I mean, build up, reinforcement, payoff. It's a very simple writer's trope. It's the series is very kind of standard in terms of its structure, and then when with your breather episodes, it allows you to get more growth of the world, growth of character, or just let the artist have fun. Like the first issue with the hallucination episode, the TV episode. It's just giving Warren Ellis a chance for artists to have fun with the characters. It's like
Hmm.
a lot of these people are just his friends. It's like they were
Yeah.
just his friends. Like, hey Frank, come on in. I want you to draw Spider for a little while. Come on in, man. It's
Oh, for
like,
sure. In terms of like the artists in that, yeah, they
yeah.
definitely it was here's the people that we know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like Frank would go on to work on, All Star Superman's like one of the best Superman stories ever made. It's like, these people started out doing this stuff, for Vertigo, and then it ascended upwards. Like it was,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a documentary that came out about Warren Ellis called Captured Ghosts. It's on YouTube for free now. A lot of it hasn't aged well, but there's a point where he just says like, when I was starting out, I tried to give all these artists a chance to sort of ascend up the ladder. I always thought that's how it was supposed to be done. It's like,
Hmm.
so a lot of artists got their start doing like independent series. Like he was doing a like Vertigo or Avatar or whatever. So
Yeah.
a lot of them are still working today.
And
So
also like these up and comers, but then also in the last volume we had a cover by Jim Lee randomly. Like
yeah,
it's just like
Yeah.
well, because he was a DC with Vertigo,
yeah,
and Jim
but
Lee
like
was
it's
working at
just kind of
DC.
fun. Like I was just
Yeah,
like, oh,
so
it's one of the biggest artists in comics today.
mhm.
Like that's crazy.
The man
Yeah.
running DC worked
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find this a fun story that is starting to see where things are going for the back half of the series. We have disrupted the status quo in some pretty big ways now. And we've got what 4 more volumes left. This volume opened with, like I said, a recapitulation of the status quo, just for it to be like completely thrown out, but at the end of this
Yeah.
volume. So this is why I didn't think that it was necessarily like a waste of an issue to do something like that. And we're gonna see what Spider is doing, and we're seeing more and more of what Spider is doing to fight the Smiler. And I think that this is just like a fun arc in that.
Yeah. This is the stacking dominoes story arc where he's getting ready to pull off his grand scheme that pays off later on down the line.
Yeah, man, I don't want to spoil anything. That's
It's
always
so
the
hard
problem
to
here.
talk
Like,
about these volume to volume, isn't it? Because you know where it's going. I will
One
say, I will give away this one thing. You're gonna love the arc of Yelena. You're gonna love the
yeah.
arc.
I
It's a
will
really
I'm
great
gonna read
payoff.
the next volume probably tomorrow morning. So
Yeah. It's a really good payoff. Yeah.
yeah, because I've
yeah,
been really holding off trying not to read ahead, and now I've done with this one, so I can go on to the next one. So I'm
Good.
very excited about that. Yeah.
You have the more recent volumes that came out that have like the white covers and such. Is that right?
Yeah, I got the trades, the 10 trades, yeah.
Okay. Is it still the same like issue order? Like
Yeah.
no, it's slightly different
Well,
from
yeah.
the original trades that came out.
okay.
And that's why we've been like trying to reference like the way it was up on the DC Universe app,
Mhm.
specifically because I think it sort of equalizes by the end, but like the first couple trades are like all over the place in terms of issue counts.
Okay. Yeah,
Like
because
one
the
of them
first
was only
trade,
4 issues or something like that.
the first trade when it first came out was only 3 issues. It was
Yeah,
a
it's the
3 issue
first
arc.
three.
That was it. Yeah, I have the old ones. Yeah, I've got the old
these are all
stuff.
6 each. So yeah.
Yeah, they I probably did that for printing reasons. Probably because they wanted to condense more down. Um, I I understand. Like something I just picked up the condensed volume of The Boys, Volume 1. It's like the first 3 arcs in one book. so so it's technically 3 trades in one book. I understand you want to do it for the sake of printing reasons. You don't have to print as much. It's
Right.
cheaper. But it's like I like the larger volume on my shelf. It looks better. It's like so but yeah,
Oh.
so I love these older versions though, because just I love that fucking art. Just like it just punches you in the face. It's just so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's a good cover.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I'm so glad to like dig back into this and to see the different trades and to like to do image searches and like come across it all. Like I kickstarted like a Transmet art book ways back, which is
Mhm.
like sitting on my bookshelf behind me somewhere. Like there's so many cool artists like contributed like amazing covers or just like poster designs for Spider Jerusalem in this like crazy, dense urban sprawl.
Yeah. I don't know if this is gonna be the only time I'm gonna be on this show to talk with you about Transmet. I'd love to come back for another one before you guys wrap up. But I will say I really could see a sequel series to this. I mean, I don't know how you do it because Vertigo's dead, but I really would love to see a sequel series.
Vertigo's
Because
back actually.
Yeah, Vertigo they just announced
oh,
it.
they're back.
Yeah.
Oh shit, they're back. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I
But
hate
I mean,
with Warren.
yeah.
The
God
series,
damn it! Why are you an asshole?
Elephant in the room.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing that sucks.
Let's get Alan
this
Moore to write
series
it.
was a magnum opus that can just let live.
Yeah, it can. Not
Eh,
everything needs a sequel.
Yeah.
that's fair, but I mean, remember years ago there was a sequel to 100 Bullets called Brother Lano, which completely undid the ending of 100 Bullets. I was like, why did you do that, Azarello? Why? Because it's one of the characters that is supposedly like killed, and then you see like the bloody footprints walking away from the crime scene, and then you
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I'm going to make a sequel to that character." It's like, dude, the point is that you don't know where he went,
Yeah.
and then he just undid the whole thing. It's like, okay,
Jesse, thank you for coming on and talking about Transmetropolitan. How has this reread has this sparked you to continue on? Are you going to finish up the rest of the series, or
I was
uh,
actually thinking I might just go back and do a full reread. It really is kind of just inspiring to see just a character that is a power fantasy, yes, but at the same time, it's like, hey, it's prescient. It's good to stay informed. I haven't done a reread of this in like 10 years. It's just been sitting on my shelf. It's great to admire it from afar, but I'm like, I've read it. Don't need to go back to it. Very rarely do I reread things more than a couple of times, but going back through it today, I was just like, damn, this is really good shit. This is really good. I might do it. And not to spoil anything about the ending or anything like that, but it does feel hopeful because the ultimate finality of the series, it's all going to work out. No matter what, it's all going to work out. Not to spoil anything at all.
Yeah.
It'll all work out. But yeah, I might do a full reread. I might pick up from here and go into the next one.
awesome. Well,
Cool.
I'm glad that you joined us for this little leg of the journey here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. If you want me to come back, if I can make it work and you don't have anybody else, I'd love to come back.
At the moment, we got a different guest booked for every volume, but
It's all good.
but appreciate the enthusiasm.
All good. All good.
Where can people find you and follow you, bud?
They can find me on Blue Sky. It's just my name, Jesse Fresco. Instagram as well, Jesse Fresco. If you want to pick up copies of my book, Skyhawk, just Google Jesse Fresco Skyhawk. It'll take you to Ingram Spark. You can order the book there. You can order it through Amazon. There's a Kindle version as well. And my second book, Drive Like Hell, should be out end of January, beginning of February. That's a simple little 100-page novella, very much in the vein of the Richard Stark Parker series, where it's jump in, have a fun little adventure story, get out. So Not a lot of investment. Am I still on X? Oh yeah, I jumped back on X because I have to. It's like X. It's just that one is a hardcore B shot, my old Instagram handle. That's when my old Instagram got hacked, I was like, I'll just make it my name. But I still have my old Instagram handle as my X handle. So I just why is it X? Just fucking Twitter was fine.
Yeah,
It's just
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't.
No, at the week that this is
money.
coming out, I just did an essay about the feelings of loss over social media, and one of those was the transition of Twitter into X has made me lose so many friends because like the great diaspora from that.
Yeah, it's
I'm just
just
I'm just glad most of the comic community went to Blue Sky together. So
Yeah.
yeah. You guys ever heard of the dead internet theory? You guys ever heard about that?
No, go ahead.
So there's
What's
this
that?
belief that majority of the internet right now is just bots because it's just a
oh
means of
yeah,
trying to just inflate the economy. So people are like artificially buying things through bots. So
yeah.
there's a belief that most people don't actually get on all the time, and a lot of comments that you see are just server farms or cell
Mhm.
phone farms, and I feel like that's what social media is at this point.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it's somebody that you directly connect with on a personal level and have met them in person, you probably don't know most of these people. They're probably not real people. So,
Well, I don't know. I mean, like
I mean,
I
to a
have had
degree,
some really good
yes.
positive social media encounters. I mean, like Jesse, you and I like met via social media.
Yeah,
Like,
it's fair. That's
you know,
true. That's
uh,
true.
like Keith is a little bit different just because it was more through direct podcasting.
Yeah.
But like for example, like Jim Fetters from Long Live the Legion, who is a previous guest on this show. Like, we met strictly through Twitter, and then realized that we were lived near each other, and that was like a grounds for us to get beers at one
There you
point.
go.
And like so, like social media, I I have this golden vision of what social media can be, and there is the most dystopian way that it is articulated, which is are shown in Transmetropolitan, and we are currently living in today.
Yeah.
Um, but on that note, Keith, where can people find you and follow you on this social media hellscape?
Yes, so the best place to find me is going to be Blue Sky. You can find my weekly comic book podcast that is part of the Certain POV network. We have issues at wehaveissues.bsky.social. That is the best place to really keep up with me. I mostly use it as my personal account, but I do have a personal account I want to go ahead and start using called keithhasissues.bsky.social. Also follow me on Instagram for the podcast, which is We Have Issues Pod. It's new, so I had to stop and think. Make sure to check it out there. I want to start using Instagram a little bit more. And other than that, really the best place to find me is in our Discord, which I'm sure Case is about to tell you about.
Yeah, because the Discord is the best place to find me. It is available in our show notes, or if you go to the website, certainpov.com, you'll find a link to our Discord right there. It is a great community that all three of us are part of, and it's a great spot to come and interact with the chat and just have a great time. I really can't say enough good things about our Discord community. It's wonderful. If you want to get in touch with me and you don't like Discord for some reason, you can find me on other social medias at Case Aiken for the majority of them, with the exception of Instagram, where I'm holding on for dear life to my AIM screen name from high school, which is Quetzalcoatl 5, Quetzalcoatl 5. It's because I was pretentious in high school, as evidenced by the fact that I was super into Transmetropolitan. Uh, so yeah, that's how you can find me and all that. I should shout out there is a Patreon for Certain POV. If you go to patreon.com/certain POV media, you can support this show. You can support all the stuff that I'm working on. It's would mean a lot because by the time this is dropping, I've got a second child.
He's setting up franchises, folks. He's setting up franchises.
Here you go, Case. And you can join. You can become a Patreon, like the following executive producers. I got the list:
Okay.
Micah McCaw, Carter Hallett, Sean Moore, Lee Greger, Memento Young, Logan Crowley, Joe Mastropiero, Casey Aiken, Nancy Aiken, Adam Samter, and myself, Keith Lettinen.
Thank you for shouting that out. I don't believe we've been doing that on these.
We haven't, but
But
I was like, hey, let's do it. Screw
yeah,
it.
we should probably start doing that. Yeah, no, but thank you for that. Thank you for all the people who are at the executive producer tier. That it's really welcome. And thank you for everyone who has tuned in for this episode. Thank you to our guest Jesse for being here today. This has been The Word from Tomorrow. Have a great week.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.